Here's what the Republicans have to say about shutting down the government.
I don't know one Republican in Congress who wants a government shutdown. I certainly don't.
There's been no talk about shutting the government down on our side.
I don't think any of us want to shut down the government.
There's no Republican that's going to shut the government down.
Look, we're not looking for a government shutdown.
You know, I'm not for shutting the government down.
Nobody's talked about shutting the government down.
Dan Gaynor, the vice president and T. Boone Pickens Free Market Fellow at the Business and Media Institute, businessandmedia.org. Dan, welcome back to the program.
It's a pleasure to be back. I'm glad to see that you're keeping the Think Progress people in business there with your video clips.
Is that where that came from?
Yeah.
Okay. We're actually big fans of the Think Progress people.
That makes one of us.
Yeah, indeed. Government shutdown, blame the Democrats. It looks to me like the game that's being played here is that John Boehner was willing to compromise with the Obama administration, something I opposed, by the way, and take the $30 billion in cuts and go with it. And the Tea Partiers in the Republican caucus, these brand new freshmen who were elected, 100% of whom don't believe in science, don't believe in global warming, most of them don't even believe in evolution. These people are saying, no, sorry, you can't just, it's not good enough just to cut out health insurance, health for old people, health for children, stuff like that. You got to cut everything. I mean, it's
not cutting everything. I mean,
you got to cut a lot more.
We're talking about, yes, we do. We're talking about a budget where they're talking.
No, we have to raise taxes
right now, but we have to do a lot of things. The battle right now, though, is being fought over a tiny piece of a budget that is $1.7 trillion. So that if you were to do every single cut that the GOP wants, which frankly isn't anywhere near enough, that would be 3.5% of the budget. You've got a Senate leader here who's defending the money spent on cowboy poetry. The Democrats have totally checked out of this debate, showing they are total unwillingness.
No, here's my point, Dan. The adult Republicans were willing to negotiate with the adult Democrats and give them something, and vice versa, that frankly I don't like and I don't think you like. But they were willing to do it.
It's not adult to have an unfundable budget. It's not adult that the budget from Bill Clinton at $1.9 trillion ballooned to $3.7 trillion thanks to irresponsible Republicans and now irresponsible Democrats. Yeah. That's not that dumps on the American people. We have to make tough choices. NPR gone. It just has to be.
It's $5 million a year for NPR. Come on, Dan, are you serious?
Absolutely.
$5 million is nothing. $5 million is what we spend in Iraq in about 34 minutes.
Actually, NPR gets hundreds of millions of dollars if you count the local stations. But it doesn't matter.
The local stations are not getting federal funding.
The local stations are getting federal funding. They're getting federal funding, laundered through either CPB or NPR or however you want to look at it. But it's a luxury. The budget crisis we have right now, it's a luxury.
Dan, let me just ask you a really simple question, okay? I mean, this is just kind of, fill me in. Something I'm missing here. From George Washington until Ronald Reagan, other than a couple of wars, which we resolved in a year or three, actually World War II took us 5 years to pay off, and we were at 124% of GDP with World War II. From George Washington to Ron Reagan, we had basically no serious budget deficit problem. Reagan came into office, it was less than $1 trillion. Reagan drops taxes on rich people from 74% down to 28% and triples the national debt. By the time Bush is gone, the Bush who followed Reagan, we're at 5 times what the national debt was when Reagan came in. Clinton comes along and says, okay, let's jack that back up to 39%. Still not the 74% it used to be. And he produces a surplus without one single Republican vote, a surplus. And then George W. comes in and says, no, let's cut that back down for rich people, just for rich people. Let's cut that back down to 35, 36%. And boom, we're back in deficit territory again. What am I missing from this narrative that doesn't suggest that the only sane thing to do is to go back to the Clinton levels of taxation on rich people?
Clear things you're missing, Tom, from the narrative is, of course, Ronald Reagan also fought a world war without actually having to fire essentially very many shots. He helped defeat Russia in a Cold War, and that cost a lot of money. And that did.
And he could have paid for it if he hadn't cut the taxes on rich people.
You try to boost the economy. Economists disagree. You can find thousands of economists, and to some extent, they wildly disagree on whether you go, spend crazy, whether you rein in the deficit, whatever you do. But one thing is for sure: the budget has gone just since since Clinton was in office to where we are now. It is almost 100% more. That is not an issue of taxes. That is an issue of spending.
Sure, that's an issue of two wars that George W. Bush brought us. The Pentagon budget has doubled.
Look at the Education Department; it's gone a lot more than doubled.
In large part that, yes, and then a lot of that is Title I and Title X, and a large part of that is because local communities are not getting tax revenues because we're in the middle of the Bush Great Depression, and they don't have local tax revenues, and so they're being supplemented by federal funds.
They spent a lot. Bush
and besides that, the Education Department is pennies compared to the Defense Department.
That's what Bush did, was throw money at everything the Democrats want so he could do what he wanted. But we now have to pay the bills. And we're going to. And
so let's like Willie Sutton, let's go to where the money is. Let's say to the rich people, sorry, guy. Dan, here, just a simple question. Can you name for me, please, Dan? I know that, we're going to cut unemployed people. We're going to cut poor people. We're going to cut women. We're going to cut children. We're going to do all that. I got that. That's, that's
the cowboy poetry.
Can you please, fine, cut the cowboy poetry. I don't care. It's meaningless. It's an irrelevant amount of money. It's a nice talking point for you, but it's meaningless. But here's my question for you. Please name for me one serious proposal that the Republicans have put on the table that is going to ask for sacrifice from millionaires and billionaires.
Well, actually, Eric Cantor right now is working on a long-term budget that may.
In other words, there's none. In other words, there's nothing. And Republicans submitted a budget. House Resolution 1 is the Republican budget. Is there one thing in there that asks for shared sacrifice from millionaires and billionaires in House Resolution 1?
To pass this budget. The reason why we're in a budget crisis right now is the Democrats refuse to act to pass a budget.
Dan, you're not answering my question.
Control the Senate and the presidency.
Dan, no matter how much you talk, you're not answering my question. Eric Cantor and John Boehner put forward H.R. 1. It was a budget for a whole year. It was a continuing resolution budget. Please, you guys have had your chance. Tell me, where is the place in there where the millionaires and billionaires are going to share the sacrifice with the unemployed people and the poor people in this country?
Millionaires and billionaires already share the sacrifice, Tom.
Already?
Taking a big hit.
What? Because their tax rate went from 74% down to 36%? Are you kidding me?
Funded buddy George Soros.
This has nothing to do with George Soros, and he's perfectly willing to pay more taxes. Please identify one shared sacrifice that Republicans. Dan, real simply, it's a. You could give a 6-word answer. One shared sacrifice that Republicans are asking from millionaires and billionaires. One.
Well, actually, Tom, you're going to get the new budget next couple of weeks. You'll be able to look at. It's going to deal with entitlements, which is really.
They've had years to propose this, Dan. Name one that they've asked for in the last 10 years. In the last 10 years, just one.
It wasn't going to happen.
All I want is one, Dan. All the way back to Reagan, give me one.
Shared sacrifice this is affecting.
The only person who asked for shared sacrifice was Bill Clinton, and not one Republican would vote for it, and it got us a balanced budget, Dan.
Well, no, actually, also years of peace, remarkable, ridiculous.
Peace? What about all your complaints about Bosnia and Wag the Dog and Clinton throwing missiles at Osama bin Laden?
The .com era, that was all that money that was bogus and then crashed on Bush. That would be only fair to do that.
Okay, so in other words, the answer to my question is that you don't have an answer about shared sacrifice for millionaires and billionaires.
I think it's shared sacrifice. You're looking for more than shared sacrifice. That's what you want.
In other words, no answer. Okay, got it.
No, in other words, you don't like the answer.
Okay, you're right, I don't. Dan Gator, businessandmedia.org.
Please, millionaires and billionaires.
Thank you, Dan.
Other people.
Okay. This is the Thom Hartmann Program.
Dan, it's always good debating with you. Thanks for dropping by today.